of today that there's contamination everywhere. Don't believe that. Is that a right thing to say?
No, don't believe it. I mean, the fact is, you can measure radioactive differences anywhere in the world anytime anything happens, and any scientist will tell. I'm not a scientist, I'm an engineer.
No, because Greenpeace, they keep repeating on CNN and Fox that Greenpeace came with their own meters and they're reporting 10 million times over the acceptable levels. I mean,
no, the 10 million times, that's something. Can I?
Yes, please. Explain.
That was a mistaken calculation by TEPCO. But I don't think it was a mistaken calculation. I think it was an English-Japanese problem. We always have a problem in giving numbers between Japanese and English, and if you have somebody like Snow White who doesn't understand the difference,
carry on.
The point is that
because there's a culture difference, of course.
There's a difference in the numbering. You know, we in Japanese, in English, we count from 1 to wherever.
Yeah.
In Japanese, you count to 1 to 10,000. You start with 1 again.
Oh, okay.
Of 1, 1, 2, and so whenever you're in business, you know, everybody's been there 5 minutes will know that when you're talking about money or numbers, you write all down all the zeros and all the points and all the commas, because you're going to be 10,000 off a lot of the time.
Oh, I see. So
and the fact is it was a mistake. It was reported, by the way, by some news agencies yesterday.
But that's
yesterday that it was
irresponsible.
100,000 times.
Then all of a sudden 100,000 became 10 million.
10 million from 100 to 100,000.
To 100,000.
It was really 100,000 is big. But when we look at these numbers, we're looking at when they were talking about the 3 workers who got
who stepped in the pond.
Stepped in the pond and all of
the
this
radioactive
stuff. The
puddle.
amount of radioactivity they had was not even at the minimum normal levels, but because everybody is really afraid in these plants and stuff, you know, that the bosses are afraid that they're going to be criticized, they move the guys out, you know, and they said, well, we better send you over to the they weren't even close to be. Yes, they were burned because of the radioactivity from the standpoint the same way you would get burned from the sun.
Because it's hot.
Because it's hot, yeah.
Heat and radioactivity are 2 different matters.
Gee, you're a scientist, are you?
No, based on what's reporting on the news.
Of course. I mean, no, the thing is that, like I said, if it's sexy, you report it.
So
if
what's happened
sexy,
is
what
we've heard in Japan, and based on the nuclear fallout.
Okay.
Don't believe it.
The next time that you're tempted to get your news from cable news, you might want to just go watch SpongeBob SquarePants and Mr. Bean. You'll be entertained better and probably learn more.
Or watch the NHK local, because knowing the Japanese and their discipline.
Yeah, and this is the point that I wanted to make is, look at, I don't know about these other countries because I haven't lived in the countries. I know about Japan.
But Japan you do.
If the reporting in the other countries is as bad as it has been in Japan.
We're in trouble.
Ooh, baby.
Maybe that's why we have all this trouble in the Middle East.
Well, did you watch Snow White over in the Middle East?
No, it's possible.
No, it was liar, liar, liar. Yeah. Every third word was liar, you know.
Yeah, but can you imagine?
That's not reporting.
Yeah, but with poor media, poor reporting, can you imagine the communications between the 2 countries when it comes to arbitration? No wonder it gets all messed up, and they start shooting each other.
And that's the problem today, because there's no way to have quiet negotiations anymore, is it?
Larry, how are we supposed to handle media, knowing that this is the issue?
Well, Shakespeare said we ought to shoot all the lawyers. Maybe I am not for violence.
Well, in the Philippines, we might do that. We just might do that.
I think, you know, a couple of weeks ago I had one of your reporters here from the GNN on my show, and she said all the right things of what reporters are supposed to do. She's being taught the right things. And I know that you've tried very hard, and the GNN tries very hard to report and to say, look, here news reports this. We have talk shows, we have commentary, and you usually have both sides of the show.
Yes.
You have both sides of an issue on. I don't do controversial things because I'm more on the, I'm a foreigner here, and I'm more
social responsibility,
social
you stay on that side.
Is the thing that I want to do.
You don't do politics, yes.
No, I don't do politics. But the point is that the kids learn the right things, but it doesn't have anything to do with news if you're competing. See, you're competing in the U.S. Hey, CNN was way down in the polls, right? This brought them up.
Yes.
Their reportage in the Middle East and here, all of a sudden they're way up here. Only they're reporting crap.
It's called the ratings game.
It's ratings.
It's what's
all
happening to
ratings,
the big
yes.
networks here in the country as well.
Is it?
Yeah, it's even celebrity news. That's how it's coming to play. But the problem is it's news created, it's news generated, and news composed rather than news as it unfolds.
Exactly. I mean, reporting. Can you imagine? We had Walter Cronkite. Do you remember Walter?
Oh, of course.
Can you imagine Walter Cronkite? Well, I talked to the people today, and he's a liar, liar, pants on fire. I can't imagine Walter Cronkite ever acting that way. You saw it today, the news. You know, I mean, that's not the way things were done. That's not the way that we grew up.
And now you know the news. And now you have the news.
Yeah, it's not
That's
the
Fox.
way we grew up on. The Fox. You know, they have this.
Don't
thing
you just love the Fox network?
They say, we report, you decide. They need to change that. You know, it
We
should be,
decide, you hear.
We shovel dog poo poo and tell you what to decide. And Snow White has keeping them honest. You know, that's not news, Harry. That is not news.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. We've got about 3 minutes more or less, and I'd like to give you more of an opportunity in your exit message on what I think the viewers should be remembering or learning from our program about news. Never mind the realities. Ladies and gentlemen, the realities, or the, how would you say it? Larry Brouhard lived in Japan for many, many decades. And he knows the Japanese people. He speaks the language very, very well. And he's very familiar. And he has the culture at heart. He was there in this devastation that wreaked havoc. Again, acts of God. Now, what's happening is the world presses are not just picking up the news and reporting facts. They are, how would you say it, generating fear. And it could even make matters worse when it comes to the economy because of the way the perception is being developed. It gets worse by the day. So I'd like to give him the next couple of minutes to explain to you in his parting message to be careful because he's part of it, and in this specific case, he's talking from the heart, from realities that he knows from his very own eyes. Larry, your exit message.
Oh, thank you. You know, well, first of all, I'd just like to say that I am not objective about this at all. This is my hometown. These are our people, and in the Tohoku area, I've been up and down there. I lived up there 3 years, 40 years ago. And for me, it's as if my hometown was destroyed. And I don't have a bone to pick with CNN or Fox from the standpoint. I think it's very well that they exist. I just wish they wouldn't use the word news in the name of their companies, because they are not news. They are places for talking heads to make a big deal and to find out what's sexy and what to talk about. And if we take the Japan case, where 30,000 people have died, 300,000 people are without shelter, 6 million people have lost their homes, and heroic things are being done by thousands of helpers, and we don't say anything about it in the international news. Fortunately, the Japanese press locally is doing that. One of the most irresponsible parts of reporting in Japan are the weeklies, and they are being responsible, which is unbelievable because they report on the underbelly of Japan. So what I think is maybe we should, I said it in jest a while ago, maybe you should not take your news from cable TV. Read a news feed from Reuters or somebody else, and then you decide. You're smart enough to know what's bull and what isn't. And we should hold our reporters to a higher standard. And it has to start with you. If you don't like them, tune them out.
Thank you very much, Larry. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that was the essence of this program, not necessarily the personal encounter of Larry, who actually was there. Now, that's my beef as well. On air now, which is very interesting to note, there are 2 or 3 new news channels, and when I tune in, I see a teleserie, I see all sorts of other things, anything and everything but the news. I wonder if the networks understand the meaning of the three letters that make the word new news. Four letters. Gee, I even had the spelling wrong. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, you are what you watch, you are what you read, and you are what you hear. Good evening and good night.